back to Court TV Live. We are going to switch our attention now to the state of Wisconsin, where we are awaiting a press conference in Waukesha, Wisconsin. This is where Morgan Geyser, of course, was prosecuted. This is where the attempted murder case in that Slender Man horror case from years ago all took place. If you haven't heard, she was in a group home in Madison, Wisconsin, and last night she cut her bracelet off, basically her monitoring bracelet, and was apprehended a few hours later just south of Chicago in the state of Illinois. So we're waiting for more updates. There's a live look at the podium inside that building, or inside that room in Waukesha, Wisconsin. So as soon as they take the stage, if you will, we'll head in there and see what they have to say in terms of an update. What happens next? It's, you know, what do you do now here with this young woman that basically has violated the conditions of her parole, which her advocates, including her attorney and family members, fought so hard for?
Yeah, we heard from that attorney during this time where she was missing and no one knew where she was, except for that she was with an adult acquaintance, is how it's being characterized. And her attorney taking to social media to say, turn yourself in. Looks like we may be having some movement there inside of this area there in Waukesha County. Let's listen in.
And sit on the public information officer here with Waukesha County. District Attorney Leslie Basie and Assistant District Attorney Abby Nikolai are here today to go over Morgan Geyser's procedural timeline and potential next steps here with Waukesha County. Any investigative questions you have about what happened over the weekend in Madison should be directed to Madison Police. So I will bring up District Attorney Leslie Basie first to kind of talk about her reaction to what happened with Morgan Geyser.
Thank you, Hillary. And good afternoon, everyone. I just found out yesterday about the escape, Morgan Geyser escaping from her placement in Dane County. As Hillary indicated, I'm not here to talk about that investigation. My understanding is that the Dane County law enforcement is investigating her leaving her placement and what occurred after that. What we do know is that she left, she cut off her bracelet, she fled to Illinois, which is where she was arrested yesterday. Any charges, as Hillary stated, with regard to the investigation from her escape would be handled by the Dane County District Attorney's Office. We are grateful for the efforts of law enforcement, not only in Dane County, but also throughout the area, because obviously she was taken into custody in Illinois and is currently in custody in Illinois. In terms of what happens from here, there is an extraditable warrant for her arrest. We are verifying with Cook County, which currently has Ms. Geyser in their custody, as to where we go from here. Our governor's office is also in contact with the authorities to see how they can best handle getting her from Illinois back to the custody of Department of Health Services, which is whose custody she has been in since she was actually committed by the court. With regard to what happens from here, once Ms. Geyser is brought back to Waukesha County, it will be up to Department of Health Services whether they file a petition to revoke her conditional release. We are certainly hopeful that they do proceed with that. We fully support it. We support that she should be in custody. Not only should she have been in custody from 2014 forward, but also Attorney Nikolai argued vehemently for her not to be released to conditional release in, I believe it was January of this year, and therefore we will be fully supporting a petition if one is filed. Obviously, our thoughts are with the victim and the victim's family during this time. It's unfortunate, but we found out yesterday morning about Morgan's escape. Victim witness was immediately notified of this information. The director of the victim witness unit, Jen Dunn, did reach out to the victim and her family. We were told that they had not been informed prior to Ms. Dunn reaching out to them that Morgan had escaped. And I'm able to verify that when we spoke with the victim's family, or when Ms. Dunn spoke with the victim's family at 12:20 this morning or this afternoon, they still had not been informed by any other agency other than our own that she had escaped. which is very concerning. While she was on the loose, we were very concerned about the safety of the victim and her family, as well as our community. We are continuing to assist them in this process. We are updating them. Our office is updating them as to what is happening, but that certainly was a concern that they were not notified of this in a more prompt manner. What we know is that there was a period of time between approximately 8 o'clock on Saturday evening to when she was taken into custody yesterday, in which she was not monitored by any person. She was on the loose and her whereabouts were unknown. So we take this very seriously. Our office will not get involved again in this case until a motion to revoke her conditional release is filed. We will then go back to court. We will fully support that motion and that petition to revoke her conditional release. And we will then go before a judge to make a decision on whether or not she will be returned to conditional release or whether she would be returned to institutionalized care, which is where she came from. And that's all I have at this time.
Can you file that motion to have her revoked or not?
No, the state, we cannot, Department of Health Services, her statute has to file that motion. She is in their custody.
Can you appeal to them or talk to them and request that? Or?
We are in contact with the Department of Health Services, but ultimately it is their decision.
So in March, defense attorney Tony Cotton said that a group home would have more restrictions in place than Winnebago. Was the DA's office receiving regular updates on Ms. Geyser's time at the group home? And if so, what was that day-to-day like and monitoring like?
I do not know what the monitoring was like. I don't believe that we received any updates, although I would confer with Attorney Nikolai. We did not. Obviously, he was misstating the nature of the monitoring that was taking place.
So the warrant that you're speaking of, is that issued by Dane County or the state or?
The Department of Health Services did forward that warrant to our intake judge last night, and the intake judge, from what I saw this morning, did sign that.
So it's a Waukesha County warrant?
Correct.
Because DHS requested.
Correct, and because the case is out of Waukesha County, that's why it will come back to Waukesha County for the decision if a petition to revoke her conditional release is filed.
All right, I think that's a little why this is a little confusing because there's a criminal, is there a criminal case in Dane County then? Is that a crime to cut your bracelet off if you're not under a criminal?
Certainly, again, this is a Dane County decision. As I looked at the statute, it looks like you can escape, be charged with a felony for escaping under a 971 commitment. Also, if there was damage to the bracelet when she cut it off, which I assume that there would be, that would be a crime as well. But again, that's outside Waukesha County's purview. That would be a decision. Law enforcement in Dane County, who leads the investigation, would refer charges over if they believed it was appropriate, and the Dane County DA's office would make that decision.
So just to clarify, I apologize.
No,
so the warrant that she would be returned to Wisconsin on would be a Waukesha County warrant. She would be returned to Waukesha County in custody?
That's what I believe, because it's still under the custody of DHS. But again, this is her home county for charging purposes. Therefore, I believe she will be returned to Waukesha County.
At any point down the line, could you guys press any other charges?
Not in Waukesha unless we have jurisdiction to charge crimes that occur in Waukesha, and because she was in Dane County, they would have the jurisdiction to charge any crimes that occurred in Dane County. With regard to the conditional release, her violations of that order, which were as a result of a Waukesha County judge ordering it, that would be what would lead to a petition to revoke her conditional release.
And maybe Abby can speak to this, I'm not sure, but what is it that about her leaving as far as her being dangerous, I guess, or danger to herself or others, which was the standard, right, that the judge went by, or at least that's what he said at the time?
Right. I think that one thing that is very concerning to me is that if and when a petition is filed by the department to revoke conditional release, it will be the second one that is filed, because we were here in March on a petition to revoke conditional release already. And so it's extremely concerning that you would so blatantly violate a very, very simple condition, which is to stay in a placement and keep a bracelet on. And that we have no idea what was going on is extremely concerning to the state, because immediately my thoughts went to the victim and keeping the community safe. But as additional information is gathered, that would be the kind of facts that are put into a petition to revoke, and that would be what is litigated at that motion hearing before the court, when I'd be able to gather more information, whether there are specifics about the dangerousness. But I think those blatant acts in themselves certainly speak to the dangerousness there.
There have been reports that there was a person in custody with her or in her presence when she was arrested.
All right, there's more of this press conference. We do have to get to our break and hit the pause button, but if I told you so was a press conference, this would be it. The district attorney's office saying they knew this would happen. That's why they tried to stop her from that conditional release. Stay with us.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, tragedy on a cruise ship after the body of a teenage girl was found under a bed. We'll bring you new developments in the death of Anna Kepler.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV. This week,
spend your holiday week with us. We're previewing the captivating trials that are coming up, and we're breaking down the biggest stories that are trending in true crime.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Morgan asked me whether or not she should do it, and I just wanted it to be over with, so I said, just go berserk, do what you have to do.
I came up from behind her, I jumped on her, I tackled her, and I stabbed her. I just want to let Bella and her family know I'm sorry. Never meant this to happen.
That was Morgan Geyser in court when she was apologizing for the Slender Man attack. Let's go back now to Waukesha County, Wisconsin, and pick up the press conference, and we'll pick it up right where we left off.
That person, where they played a role in her absconding.
We do not know any information about that person. That was information we had received, that there was a person that was outside the placement location, but I don't have any information about that at all.
But Abby, you were concerned at the earlier revocation hearing about people that were in touch with her even while she was still at Winnebago, correct? Outside people that were contacting her, influencing her?
Right, there's a certain notoriety here that is of concern, that there are people that kind of sought her out, that there was some concern about communication with those types of individuals. We also had concern at that point with what seemed to be kind of a pushback in terms of Ms. Geyser's acknowledgement of the extent to which she'd be monitored, in terms of my reading material is going to be, that didn't seem consistent with someone that was ready to make that next step into the community.
But you have no way of knowing that this person was one of those that you were concerned about, was in contact with her at that time?
I don't know.
Would all of this happening impact a future request for a conditional release?
Certainly when those requests are made, I look back through the record in terms of assessments that have been done throughout the history of a case, and so I would say yes.
And just for the general public, because this isn't a sentence she was facing per se, but she still is under the control of the state, so there's leeway as to whether she is in custody or in state care in a facility or outside a facility, that type of thing. That's what you're talking about, trying to get her back to that previous level that she was inside Winnebago.
Right. Ultimately, if the petition to revoke conditional release were granted, she would go back to that institutional care placement, which would be a hospital facility.
Which is more secure, obviously, than community-based facility.
Right, exactly.
Could you walk us back just for clarity again on the process of contacting the Leutner family once it was clear that Ms. Geyser had disappeared?
Certainly. I can tell you that I was informed yesterday morning about Ms. Geyser escaping from her placement. Prior to me even getting notification of that, I believe Ms. Nicolai and Ms. Dunn, who's the head of victim witness, also received that notification. Immediately, Ms. Dunn contacted the victim and her family to make sure that they knew about it. They did not know anything about it. We wanted to make sure that they were safe and that they had a plan in place. And I know that Ms. Dunn has been in contact with the family pretty consistently since then, offering services. And again, it was verified before we came up here that in fact, no one did contact them. Again, I would have expected that the Department of Health Services would have contacted them to let them know. Obviously, we want to safeguard her safety and the community safety, because frankly, when she's released based upon some of the evidence that came out previous hearings, we have concerns about the safety of the community as well.
Just for clarity, she was at that group home for, what was the duration? Was it September?
The judge, the final plan of placement was signed September 17th, I believe, and I'd like to take credit for knowing that, but again, Attorney Nikolai is the one who put together the timeline, and that was the time. So when she got to the facility, we're not sure, but that's when the court signed the order for the placement.
Looking back, do you wish that there would have been more communication between your office and a group home like that? Is that something maybe moving forward we would like to see?
Again, we're not, once the conditional release plan was signed, we really are not involved in the case. The people, DHS, they're the ones whose custody she has been given to. They would be the ones that would control that day to day. And again, I don't know what that communication is. It could have been a daily communication. It could have been a weekly communication. I'm not sure. You'd have to reach out to DHS to see exactly what that consists of. Again, our goal in our position is to hold people accountable. Certainly that's why Attorney Nikolai had advocated for the conditional release not to be granted, because that was part of the accountability and keeping our community safe.
Do you feel like there should be some mechanism to notify families in a case like this?
Absolutely. I've reached out to already some legislative personnel to see if we can't address that issue. I think that that's wrong.
Any other final questions?
Thank you very much.
The district attorney there in Waukesha County confirming that they don't know yet, in terms of the Waukesha County officials, who that adult was with the 23-year-old defendant, but that that's someone who would be investigated at this point for helping her in this escape.
Yeah, lots ahead here. You've got the situation in Dane County, that's Madison, where she was at that halfway house. Did she, was it a felony for her to cut the bracelet? Will she be criminally prosecuted there? Waukesha County clearly wants the Department of Health Services now to file a motion to revoke, to revoke that conditional release and put her back at that hospital, which is just north of Milwaukee. A lot of places. She's still in Cook County, Illinois, in Chicago, so they're going to extradite eventually.
The governors have to talk about that because it's state to state, but it sounds like there's not going to be any issue there. But still a lot of questions when you had so many people saying she would be fine in this
And who
group
helped
home.
her? That's a big question still.